I have a good bit for the start of the show if you want to.
Oh, please.
Slowly inch into it. So, I don't know what level of quarantine you're on, but this is our first episode of our podcast about Homestuck, Stuck at Home.
Oh!
Yep.
Sure is. I guess you could say we're all at home.
Oh no. Yeah.
I guess you could say it.
I guess you could. Oh God, you could. You could. I mean, it makes you empathize with the kiddos, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was once a kiddo stuck at home messaging my friends on the internet, and then I got to not be for a while, and fucking, welcome back to that.
It's,
so...
yeah, we're all just, not hive swapped, hive bound.
Hive bent?
Hive bent.
Yeah. We're all, wait for it. Caged hams.
Caged hams? I don't get it.
Yeah, well, like, you know how you might have, like, aged ham? We're the hams? No, but we're caged. I'm sorry.
Folks, she don't miss. It keeps coming.
No, she do miss because she forgot the meme is steamed hams. Because my brother sends me these things every so often. They're little, like, pencil erasers of pigs with a thing stamped on them and, like, a nonsense postcard that almost makes sense. And they're called age hams.
Age hams?
I don't know. You're supposed to, like, name them. He just keeps sending them to me in the mail.
I'm fascinated. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't either.
Well, that's the way Homestuck works. Welcome to the Hamsteak podcast, everyone. 2020 edition.
Unfortunately. But we're here to read Homestuck and tell you about it.
That's right. I'm Alex, and I have not read Homestuck before.
My name's Lydia, and I swear to fuck I'm gonna read the rest of the goddamn comic. One of these days. And this week we are here to tell you about, we're here to run up to Cascade.
Yes, it is the final countdown to the third waypoint of the thing.
The third waypoint?
The one-third way.
Point,
yeah.
Yeah! Oh my gosh, it's so exciting. It's like, that particular piece of media was so formative for me. It was like how I got into the comic, because I had this friend who had been telling me about it, and I was like very intrigued, and I didn't really understand it, and then they just showed me that animation, and I was like baffled completely, because it didn't make any goddamn sense. But I was like, at that point I was like, okay, I need to understand what the fuck is going on here, because every piece of music in this bangs, and there's so many cool character designs, and I need to know what's going on. And, like, that was what made me read Homestuck, was Cascade. So I'm like, very pumped to be running up to it. Alex, how are you feeling?
I'm also feeling very pumped. As happens every time I read Homestuck, I remember what I like about it, and it makes me excited to read more of it.
Yeah, I picked it up today, and I think one of the first things that we read is a conversation between Rose and Dave, and I was immediately like, oh, these fucking kids, these precocious children.
Yeah, they're all simply our babies, and we love them.
We do. Even the murder ones in their way.
Yeah, they don't know any better.
They don't, and in fact, this week we're going to find out a little bit more background on why it's like that.
Yeah.
You want to just jump into it?
Let's jump into it. When we left off, Doc Scratch had left the reader to peruse his scrapbook albums.
Yes!
And that means that there are just some interactive loose panels on the ground, which link to, like, little segments, which are just, like, numbered pages. So what I was doing was just, like, when it sent me back to the scrapbook page, I just, like, manually entered the next page, because I didn't want to, like, remember which ones I had done yet.
Oh, that's a smart way to do it. I was just taking such meticulous notes because I'm so out of practice at doing... I have 12 pages of notes. That I was just doing, like, a little header in Google Docs for each individual one, because I was like, I need to be able to, like, go through, like, so there's a couple of them. There's, like, a scrapbook page, a scrapbook page, a scrapbook page, maybe, like, 3. I can't remember how many there are. And then there's a couple of narratives that are just one scrapbook vignette long, and there's a couple that go between them. And so I made them into, like, Google Docs headers, because then it automatically generates a document hierarchy. There's a fun hack.
Oh, okay.
For I'm delivering that to you, listener, as a hack if Alex decides to leave this in the show. So you can automatically, like, link to things.
Yeah, it's really useful.
It's fucking so handy. It saved my life as a scientist. But so I can try to run through the different little narrative bits that go through. We should probably just start at the beginning, though, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
So do you want to start with... I wanted to actually start with... the first one I read was Nepeta and Jasper Sprite.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
Because I was reading it, like, late at night with my cat curled up on my lap, and these are 2 cat people, and it made me, like, almost cry. They are, so this is just, like, for flavor, but Nepeta and Jasper Sprite are on Rose's planet, and just Nepeta's saying goodbye to Jasper Sprite because they're about to go dark. The human universe is about to go dark relative to the trolls, and, you know, she's just saying, like, you remind me, she basically tells them, like, you remind me of my Lucis, you know, you remind me of my cat mom that I had, and Jasper Sprite is like, yeah, you remind me of Rose, who I loved very much, and... it's just so sad and very sweet. It is.
Yeah, I didn't, like, write notes about everything they said. I just said they have a heart-to-heart about love and loss and just being a cat.
And how it is to be a cat.
Because Jasper Sprite is over and over is like, again, I am just a little cat and I do not understand these things, but it seems as if.
Yeah, one of the things he says is, that's my story, and that's why I think there's always hope even if you die. And I just pet my little cat in my lap and cried, like, you beautiful, simple animal. Then what happens? So Jade Sprite and Dave Sprite are running into each other on the battlefield. Dave Sprite's, like, bleeding out through his torso. Jade Sprite is, like, weeping. And we should probably follow them. I think that's one that we should follow.
Jade Sprite, as soon as she was made by Jade, she, like, kind of ran away crying.
Yeah. Because she was like, I didn't ask to exist. I was dead, you know?
Yeah. Whereas Dave Sprite says he's been, like, going around doing stuff, but also feels as if he's no longer useful in the session.
Yeah. So for him, it's like a good thing that he, you know, has the opportunity. And they talk about, you know, the difference between asking to exist and not. Dave Sprite made a very deliberate choice to exist, but, and he asks her at some point, he's like, well, what would you do if you weren't scared? Which is always a great question to ask yourself in life.
It is.
And they talk about, they basically go over a thread that runs through a couple of these different narratives, which is, you're not supposed to kill your denizen, just like the big monster that, like, lives in the boss castle of your land in Suburb. You're not supposed to kill it. You're supposed to, like, let it give you advice. Like, it makes a deal with you. Sometimes a really important deal. And Dave Sprite talks about how, you know, he had this broken sword and he went to go see Hephaestus, and he knew he couldn't kill him, and so he let him talk, and he told him, I'll make you a deal. I can fix one thing in the forge. And it could be anything, but only one thing. And, you know, he's got this, like, perforated torso, but he just goes, yeah, fix the sword. I'm going to bring it back to Dave. And he has Hephaestus fix the sword. He
needs also to work the forge, he needs lava, to fix something, he needs lava from the forge, which means that the other denizen, Echidna, also has to be awake. And so what Dave Sprite is describing is, like, the way it's quote-unquote supposed to work is when you reach the denizen fight, they're asleep, but if you, like, skip to them, they're gonna be awake and pretty upset at you for, like, playing the game out of sequence.
Yes. Yeah.
So to have Echidna actually be awake, you either have to, like, go there and wake them up at the right time, or you have to just, like, skip to them and they'll already be awake.
Yeah. And so they managed to make that happen, and they light the forge, and then they, you know, fix the sword, and then he approaches Jade Sprite, and they end up talking, you know, so Jade has Becquerel powers. Jade Sprite has Becquerel powers, so, like, teleporting space powers, and the deal that that Jade had to make with we later find out, I think we found that in a different narrative, but the deal that Jade had to make to light the forge in the first place was she has to bring all the denizens with them. She has to bring all their lands and all the denizens with them when they escape from, the collapsing suburb universe. And she's like, I have no idea how I'm going to do that. But Dave Sprite goes to Jade Sprite and just says, all right, like, I need you to use your Becquerel powers and take this sword and give it to Dave. Like, just give it to him.
He says do the spacey thing, to be exact.
Do the spacey thing. We had the windy thing, now we have the spacey thing.
Which is really funny. I didn't even realize it was like a pun, but like Jade being spacey and then like being the space player, it's funny.
Yeah. That is pretty good. Oh, also it is like super poignant. It's not just, hey, you have space powers. It's like, also, I'm gonna go ahead and die here. Bye.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hey, you didn't ask to be created, but there is something you can do to help. And if you weren't afraid, would you be able to do it? And then she does it, and it's good.
Yes, it is. What else happens? Rose and Dave talk to each other. Rose is being weird, as usual.
So Dave is on his roof on Earth, and they're having a conversation, and Dave is talking about how he had a dream and wanted to like get psychoanalysis from Rose, and then Dave starts remembering that this conversation didn't happen like this, and he's either asleep or dead.
And she won't tell him which.
Yes.
And they have kind of a long conversation, so
Rose is trying to jog Dave's memory, and he's talking about again like how he never asked to be the is he the Knight of Space or the Knight of Time?
The Knight of Time, but he's like, maybe I'd rather just be like the Dave of Guy.
Yeah.
And she goes, if you're not ready to die, basically, why did you insist on going on the mission to deliver the green sun? Like, what was your deal with that? And he can't answer the question because it's Dave, and he refuses to interrogate his interiority at all. But finally, I think he starts to piece together what really happened, which was, so they were both on Durst together because they're the Durst Dreamers, and they put the tumor onto the moon of Durst, and they were going to ride that to the sun, Homestuck, and he had used the broken sword to cut the chain that holds the moon to Durst. At which point he finally realizes Rose knocked him out with a ball of yarn.
Mm-hmm.
So he is, in fact, not dead. He's dreaming, and Rose is there in person, cruising through his dream bubble in the furthest ring. And the reason she's been stringing him along is to stall, so that he doesn't try to hop on while she's passing through on her way to the green sun.
She also, when he cuts the chain with a sword, I'm just piecing together now that that's the sword that Jade Sprite just sent to him.
Oh my god, wait, oh my god, because that means she sent it to him and it lodged in the chain, and then as soon as he touched it, it broke again. And Dave Sprite, basically gave his life to...
Right, well, so what I think happens is, the reason it breaks so easily is, it is, Dave's specific is broken sword, right?
Yeah.
But I think, he has to break it to, get the item.
Mm.
So for him... the perfect sword for Dave is one that breaks with the least trouble possible so that he can use it, I think.
Oh my god.
That's just my theory.
I believe your theory. I accept it. I christen it. And then they have this conversation. They make a bajillion sports jokes. It's very funny. And then he agrees to stay unconscious and talk to her. And then Diamond's Droog appears in Dave's room and stabs him in the stomach. And Dave wakes up on Durst.
Yes.
Actually, in person.
Also, we didn't mention, but it'll be important later, when they're walking, or when they're talking on Durst, Liv Tyler is there holding the tumor capture card. Yeah.
Yes, which continuity is happening here. She basically escaped from, we'll tell you in a second, but so Dee Dee has just stabbed Dave through his torso. He wakes up, he grabs this broken sword, and he just flies off towards Rose. He's going to chase the moon down.
Yeah.
And then what's going on with Liv Tyler was Clubs Deuce and the Wayward Vagabond took off in a Durst battleship. Clubs Deuce thinking, this is great, I'm going to steal the tumor, Jack's going to be so happy. and he pickpockets it out of WV, who is none the wiser. Which Liv Tyler witnesses, and they have like a cat and mouse chase through the ship, like family circle style with little like footpaths.
Yeah.
And then Liv Tyler like pickpockets Club's Deuce, or the courtyard droll, whatever you want to call him. Steals the tumor out, puts the wallet back, and dips.
Yeah, there are some escape pods in this big tanker.
Right. Yeah. So the courtyard droll and Liv Tyler both dip, and then I believe at that point, I think the ship breaks. I don't remember how the ship breaks, but the ship breaks in half.
Jack appears in front of WV, or Beck Noir appears in front of WV. I think somehow realizes he doesn't have the wallet, and then just like explodes the ship.
He realizes it because he like calls him. Or something like that.
Yeah. Club's Deuce calls Beck and says, "Hey, I'm missing the thing," and Beck's like, "Don't worry, your actual mission is now to kill Jade."
Yeah.
So Jack blows up the ship. I'm gonna say Jack and Beck interchangeably. Jack blows up the ship, and WV gets sent careening in one half of it through a portal, which ends up sending him to the future desiccated Earth, where he is seen falling through the sky by little someone known as PM, and that's how he got there.
Yeah, that's how he arrives. So I think that's it for that narrative segment.
Yes, he has the ring, the important big ring with him.
Right, which we see him use much later, much earlier in this story, much later in his timeline. So John is wrapping a birthday present for Jade, and Vriska is talking to him.
And he doesn't know who she is.
Nope. And she is kind of, at first she's disappointed, and then she eventually decides she's rather pleased that he does not know the quote-unquote, like, compromising things about her.
Right, which is that she, like, has a crush on him. And also all the murder and stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking it was more the murder stuff, because what happens is basically, they were supposed to go on a date, and then Vriska got herself stabbed in the back, quite justly, and now she's with John, who slowly, very slowly recollects that he's dead. He got himself killed. He is the John that Terezi, tricked into going and fighting his denizen much too early and just being killed.
Yeah, so this is the John who died before he even met Vriska, so like even as he jogs his memory, he's not going to remember her.
Right.
But she does like just show up outside his window outside his house, and he's like, wow, not only a cool alien girl, but a cool ghost alien girl is outside my house. And they start wandering through their memories in this dream bubble.
It's really sweet. Yeah, at first they're like, well, this isn't a date, and then John kind of shows her around his neighborhood, and then she kind of shows... Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, John's description of his neighborhood, it's like, well, all my neighbors live in these houses that are identical to mine, and I never see them. They must be so busy with work. I'm like, okay, Mr. Lives in The Sims.
Oh my god. Sburb.
Yeah.
The logo of which, on the rare occasions we actually see it spelled out, I believe, is in the Sims font. If I'm not mistaken. Or Sims adjacent.
Something similar. Yeah. But yeah, he takes her on a tour of the lake, which is the exploded Betty Crocker factory. And then they end up wandering into Alternia, where we see Vriska's hive. And
she kind of gives him a tour of, her belongings. She doesn't want to talk about her smashed 8 balls. Finally it's like, well, maybe this is a date. And, hi, I'm Vriska. Like, properly introduces herself.
Yeah.
And,
she also, outside her hive, when he's like, wow, it's a castle. That's so cool. And she's like, yeah, of course it's cool. I designed it. I didn't really have a choice. I had to design it. And it's kind of embarrassing because I designed it when I was like a child, and I've outgrown those sensibilities, and it's so big, and I feel so trapped in it. And John's like, I understand, because my dad, for some reason, one time thought I liked clowns, and now he's like, he thinks I'm obsessed with clowns.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, it's not quite the same, but okay. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, it's thank you anyway. They're like actually getting to relate, and it's like kind of I love that Vriska exists as a character because she's just really like one long kind of exploration of what is even the meaning of redemption and what are the merits of a person who's done terrible things, and especially when that person is also like an innocent, they're a young person, they've been, raised and trained to be the way that they are. God.
Yeah, it's really I don't know if you've seen around, but like people who worked on Atla have talked a bit about how they wanted to have a fourth season which would focus on an Azula redemption arc. And I'm just like, oh my god, that could have been so good.
It really, and they're very similar. They're honestly pretty similar character archetypes where it's like, no, she really is just better than you, and she really is that messed up. Like,
yeah, she really was groomed to be like a monster.
Yeah. Gosh, I would have loved that. I bet you there's a comic about it.
Yeah, I think they touch on it in the comics.
Hey, do you want to hear a story from John's grandma?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell the story that John's Nana tells us?
I can try. So basically, I'm not exactly sure what's happened here. We see Dad's bloody hat floating in the breeze, and then Nana Sprite's ghostly arm catches it, and she sees a gray utilitarian communication device nearby with a little notification from a gray fedora icon, and she picks it up, and it's, I guess, like a friend.
So it's great that you picked up on that on your first read, because I picked up on that this time. I thought it was him posting on Twitter, not him getting messages. Like, on, like, Dad Twitter. But now I understand.
Dad Twitter. A Twitter for dads. Okay, yeah, so yeah. Fedora Freak is posting to Pipefan413, which is Dad. And then Nana Sprite responds, like, oh, ho, ho, ho. This isn't him, but this is his mother, and I'm concerned about him. And Fedora Freak is like, well, I'm really tired. I'm just going to go lie on this, like, big slab rock that I'm sure is normal.
He's, like, clearly dying.
Yeah. Also, are we supposed to know who this is?
No.
Great.
No, I actually looked it up to make sure that we weren't supposed to know who this person was, and no, we don't.
Great. So yeah, Nana Sprite is like, why don't I tell you a story about a young boy and girl who were raised by an evil bakery witch, and then it's her as a child and the other one, the two, I know her name is Jane, I don't know what his name is.
That's
we'll
okay.
Find out.
Yes, you will. And please continue. I'm gonna let you take this one.
Is it Jake?
It's Jake.
Okay, yeah.
You got it.
Just because it's going to be confusing if I just say, oh, the boy and the girl, who knows what their names are. So yeah, she tells the story of how they were raised after falling from meteors by the wicked witch of bakery, Betty Crocker. Jake eventually ran away with the family dog and became like an inventor, became Jade's grandpa. And Jane was left with the evil bakery witch, and she says like, the only thing that I could do to like beat the witch was beat her at her own game, so I became the best baker I could. And then one day when Jake was very successful and I wanted to see him again, I asked her, and she said, no, you can never see him again because I'm evil, and I'm keeping you apart because you're actually not brother and sister. You're fated to be married and have kids that save the world, like in a fairy tale, but I will never let that happen. And then at the end, Nana Sprite says the Baroness was not human.
Yeah, so she vanishes, and then she, she finds she's got this secret on her, which is that she's not human.
Yes.
Oh, hello, Max the dog. I'm being visited. Hello, snuffly guy. Then Fedora Freak's battery dies, and it's very sad.
Wait, time out. Is there a dog named Max?
Yeah.
I didn't know there was two dogs.
I don't know if you heard that. Yes, there's two dogs named Max, and one of them is... there's two dogs. One of them is named Max. He belongs to Courtney.
I see.
He's so cute.
Aww.
He's like a little 15-pound little nugget of mud.
Oh my goodness.
Fluffy mud.
Wait, 15 pounds? Is he bigger and smaller than Cat Max? Bigger or smaller?
Not a whole lot bigger.
That's funny.
he's, you know, tougher. He's a dog and not a cat, but he's not necessarily,
Yes.
he's not longer. I'll tell you that. He's not longer than a fully extended Max.
Aw.
He's a naughty boy. He'll steal your sandwich if you so much as look away from it. Anyway.
Oh dear. But yeah, so Fedora Freak's battery dies, and it's very sad. I hope he's having a good sleep.
He's probably God tier.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're getting through these. So
Yeah.
one of the other ones is honestly okay. So this whole batch, we're into the second batch now, and the only one left actually in the second batch to pick up is so Jade is, I believe she's just on her planet. She's in the land of frost and frogs in a froggier part rather than a frostier part. She's talking to Karkat. Yeah. So Karkat, she's insisting on getting a password from him because they're trying to stay like temporally locked, which I think is very smart. And Karkat is ranting at her because she's talking to Echidna rather than killing her, which, you know, we later find out is how Dave, or maybe we had previously found out that that's how Dave, you know, Dave Sprite was able to get the sword fixes because Jade having Echidna, you know,
I believe this is where we learn about the denizens being like talk-toable.
Yeah, it's like simultaneous.
Yeah.
It's simultaneous. They really kind of hammer it into you.
You go ahead.
Okay. So Karkat is basically ranting at her because he's in the middle of trying to find Gamzee because people are dying. And then future Kanaya, who's a little bit ahead of Karkat, opens up a memo for them to talk.
So yeah, they start there, and then Kanai opens the memo, and then I have past Karkat looking for Jade, starting to think this is a doomed timeline. That's the part?
Yeah. That's scary.
Okay. Yeah.
He's so sure that it's a doomed timeline because he can't find anyone. And Jade is complaining that Jack is like following her around or you know, Bec Noir, he's part Beckerel. He still thinks he's her dog in a way. That's why he's trying to get someone else to kill Jade because he like wants her to die, but can't.
He's just like angrily like stepping on frogs, just like trailing behind her sulking, which is extremely funny. But it gets Karkat talking about how important the frogs are, and he starts admitting mistakes when he thinks no one can hear him at the end of his timeline.
Yeah.
And he says he thinks he knows what the critical moment is at the end of their timelines, and it's the fact that due to his mistakes, the Genesis frog in the Trolls universe is missing a crucial DNA sequence because he didn't give Kanaya enough time to find like the most important frog.
Oh my god, yes. I remember this like flooring me the first time I read it. Just flooring me all the way. Like, Jade, I'm so sorry I gave your universe cancer.
Cancer, because he's cancer.
Oh, fuck! Fuck!
Yeah. My other note is Bilious Slick, more like Bilious Sick. Because he has cancer.
He looks like shit. Like, he looks cool, but he looks like shit. Like, also, very interesting, I guess, genre of, like, creepy imagery, which is just this fucking frog that's, like, made of outer space, and it has these, like, red eyes with these, like, very wide out around it, like, coronas, like, pulsing coronas of red light, and it's, like, beautiful, but somehow also very sickly looking.
And, like, he has, like, his entire throat is, like, extended, like if a frog was like croaking and its big throat sac came out, but just like it's stuck out that way.
Yeah.
And yeah, basically Karkat says like, sorry for giving you a doomed universe. And yeah, because this frog, to back up a little bit, this frog is like our universe. And Karkat messed it up and made it impossible. He thinks made it so that there is a mutation in the reproductive system that makes the universe doomed and makes the kid session impossible to complete, like making it basically an infertile universe.
Yeah, and then I don't remember who is the narrator, but they kind of continue that thread and talk about how, in a way, the cancer, or I think maybe this is Karkat's hunch, the cancer is Jack.
Yeah. So what he says is like, instead of like cells failing, the disease took the form of a series of terrible events. and became a hostile agent in the system with the instinct to destroy everything it hated and the power to do so. And this is accompanied by like the panels of Jack just like stepping on frogs because he is programmed to hate frogs.
Right.
And unlike a cancer, even though it was chased out by the immune system, like it was sent to the trolls session to like outside of the body of the frog. It didn't lose its power because it can still destroy the body outside of it.
Yeah. So not good.
Not good. But as he starts like giving farewells to everyone, like figuring he's doomed, Future Kanai answers and she's like, "Hey, it's fine. I'm okay."
Yeah. All right. So next one is a short one. It's just a little vignette of Aradia floating in a green glow, and Solix comes up behind her. I guess because he has, 1 foot on each side, fucking stupid bifurcation theme, whatever. Talking about how I'm waiting for our friends to arrive. And, first it's going to be 2 of the humans. So sounds like probably Dave is going to catch up with the moon and come out there to the green sun.
Oh, yeah. And they look up at the green sun and Solix says it looks 2D to him. Because 3D glasses.
Wait, what?
His 3D glasses theme.
I didn't know he had a 3D glasses theme.
The blue and red eyes.
Oh, I get it, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, also, I mean, I think what it means, like, it looks 2D to him because he's not really there. Like, he's half there, I guess.
Yeah, it's presented like a punchline, and I was just like, all right, okay. I want to leave there. So there's a thing with Doc Scratch that I want to leave to the end because that's what's going to take us back to linear, narration.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about, there's a page that just has one note, and it's one of those pictures of like 90s, like kids or teens, like with just like ridiculous cyber suits of like stupid clunky 1990s technology like attached to them, or like cool children's clothing catalog skate children that Teresa used to like doodle all over and send to Dave because their children are adorable. And Carcat's sitting alone. This is part of where, try that again. So inside of this note, this is like a little slice of where he thinks this is a doomed timeline, and we see. So he has just told Jade that she should not turn her back on Beck, basically, and the pester log is going like non-concurrently with what we see on the screen. What we see on screen is Jade in her lab with her back turned to Beck, looking up at a view screen where you can see PM and Serenity the Firefly, and they're looking up at, in future apocalyptic Earth, the Becquerel head that AR has rigged to blow up.
Yes.
And above it, red miles, like the attack that Jack has, are like spreading through the sky. And that's like the visual segue that takes us into the image of Bilious Slick with his cancer, and it's like fucking
okay, gotcha.
The visuals there.
Yeah. I didn't know what the red like lines were. That's Jack's attack.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that visual transition is worth checking out. It's very, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're like almost done. There's Dave and Gamzee chatting, and then we're into Doc Scratch pretty much.
We also we didn't do everything with Jade yet because she talks about the deal she made with her denizen, and we get to see her getting the last frog that she needs because basically what happened was she doesn't remember this until the denizen helps her remember it, but one of her dream, like her sleepwalking times as a child, she was walking into like the lagoon on her island, and she saw this really weird like glowing white frog with like rainbow eyes, and it's like the final frog that she needed in the future to finish the DNA sequence for the Genesis frog. But in the like when it happened in childhood, it died as soon as she touched it, and we also get a close up of like, oh, that's like when I got Jadebot, who could like do sleepwalking stuff for me, and we see a close-up of like a panel on Jadebot, and it shows that she's like a Betty Crocker product.
Yeah. I just wanted to jump in and add that the frog doesn't die. It doesn't just happen to die. We see it. There's a green flash, and then it dies, and there's Becquerel's head. Like, not Bec Noir,
Right.
but Becquerel's head in the bottom right corner. So,
Okay.
you know.
So sure. But so seeing this memory now that she has been jogged by Echidna, she's able to like use the transportalizer or whatever. I don't remember how this stuff works, and I don't think it's possible to remember all of it. But she gets like the ghost imprint of the frog, gets its DNA, is able to combine it with all the other frogs, and gets this magic 8-ball with a tadpole in it, which is the Genesis frog.
Yes. And we'll come back to her and the Genesis frog in a little bit,
Yes.
Unfortunately. But so then the last thread that takes us through all of this is there's a banging. So that, you know, half the reason we've been left alone to look over these like scrapbook bits is because there's a mysterious banging that Scratch has taken a broom to go check out, and we just slowly see him working his way through his mansion, just being like, "Shut up!" Like, approaching this heavily padlocked door.
Yes.
And so he approaches this padlocked door, and then there's a hard cut to Hussey in a Hero of Space God tier outfit, and he is arranging two fenestrated panels like a V, so like they share one edge and then they're spread out by a yardstick's distance at the other edge, and then there's a huge green coat with flashing multicolored cuffs thrown over the inside of the rightmost panel, sort of between them.
Yeah. My first thought, like, of what he's doing here is I thought he was like trying to photocopy it.
That would be really good. I can't wait for you to find out the payoff for that. It's so stupid, but it's also pretty cool. The first time I saw it, I was floored. But so, you realize you see this, and then you see that there is a troll girl who sort of looks like a Radia. She's got her coloring and her symbol.
I did just think it was a Radia for several pages.
I think you're meant to. I think you're meant to be like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Is this the first time we've seen a troll ancestor as like an actual troll and not like a cutout or like an outline with cool colors?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. And she's got a cool outfit. She's got a floral short sleeve button up. It's almost like a Hawaiian shirt. And then
I think it's intentionally, because he like makes a funny, hilarious Asian schoolgirl joke later. It's very like traditional Chinese tea, like tea room thing, but instead of like red with gold, it's just like green.
Okay.
And she's also like, she's in a room with a bunch of like very traditional looking Chinese furniture and tea stuff. Like it's like a tea room.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. She's got hair sticks, by the way.
Yeah, those are important.
Good job, Hussey. I mean, they're her weapons.
Yeah.
And so she's like smashing this fenestrated wall, and Scratch just turns it off. At that point, so Scratch says, "I've made it clear that this filth is to remain off, or will I have to suspend your furniture privileges again?" And she like yeets the chair at his head.
He's also like, "Hey, no fifth wall shenanigans."
Yeah. What else does she do? Then she this is a good sequence. Then she like stabs him in the head with her hair sticks, like pulsing with this like magic. And he goes, "I'm gonna have to revoke your breathing privileges," and like teleports her onto the outside of a spaceship.
Yeah.
And her response is to shove her hair sticks into the outlet instead and just threaten to end herself.
Yeah.
And then Scratch finally explains what the fuck is going on with her. And then we get into this long series where there's a main panel narrative and then there's also shit happening in the top bar. So we're going to talk about the main panel stuff first, and then we'll go over what happens in the top bar. So Doc gives a bunch of background on this, and I'm just going to honestly skip over it. But basically, there was an original Troll universe prior to the one that we've seen on screen. And in that universe...
Do you want me to try to explain it from what I understood of this?
Oh, yes. Wait, yeah, that's way more fun.
Okay. So, what he basically says is, in the original universe, the 12 troll players were at a systemic disadvantage because of a small, like very polite glitch introduced by Lord English, which he, I guess, like uses as a calling card to like say, to like claim this universe. And that means that at the end of their failed session, they spoke to a denizen and they took a choice to either just die or to scratch their session and live new lives in a new reality where their evolution would be overseen by Doc Scratch to hone the troll race into perfect suburb playing machines.
Yes.
But then there was, and that also that they would have no memories of the original session. But there was a single hitch in that there was a signless ancient troll whose mutant blood somehow allowed him to remember the original universe.
Right, where the trolls were originally, a peaceful species instead of having been manipulated from the beginning. So, and the idea is the ancestors now were the hero children in the original universe, and they're supposed to have their memories wiped, but because this person is a mutant, they call him the Sufferer or the Signless, and so he can remember, and so he's preaching it to people, and so of course he becomes an enemy of the state. There's like a war, and where Karkat's symbol comes from is the type of manacles that they put on him when he was being like executed, basically. I don't know. It tells you about the other ancestors. Solix's ancestor was this like psychic ship captain who ended up being condemned to be kind of like physically integrated with the leader of the entire troll, planet.
So this is in the second universe where their like entire society revolves around producing suburb like warriors. So there's the Dolorosa, who is one of Kanaya's ancestors, who stays underground their whole lives raising Lucises, and by Karkat's time, they will have bred a Lucis that is sympathetic to his mutant scent, but because there was no such Lucis at the time that the Sufferer arrived underground in a comet, the Dolorosa took pity on him and, breaking troll taboo, raised him as a parent, fleeing to the surface and becoming his first disciple. But then there's the disciple, who is his most fervent follower, who is Nepeta's ancestor, who loved him and took his leggings, I guess, which are his like the symbol of his martyrdom, and then became a hermit in a cave, painting his words in animal blood. She was spared by the executioner, or the executor, with a division sign, which is Equius's ancestor. And then the Dolorosa was taken as a slave by some fearsome seafaring ancestors who we have heard from before. And then there's the Solix's ancestor, whose name contains like a stupid Greek letter. But he becomes trapped as like he becomes part of her condescension's flagship. And with his super powerful psychic abilities, he is able to make it the fastest ship in the universe. And her condescension, or the Condess, who is the empress of the trolls, uses that power to expand the troll empire through space, arriving first at planets and in peace, and then in her wake follows her enormous hordes of troll subjugators, etc.
Right.
And she also, so her power with her link with how do you say the name? Glub?
I just say glub. It's like glub galib.
Glub galib. With her link with Glub galib, she's able to like end lives instantly. And so that's how she becomes like the most powerful person in the universe. But she obviously tries to keep it in check so that she doesn't actually just kill everyone, but it's like a huge threat that she can leverage over people. And then eventually off screen, we get the reminder of the Tavros's ancestor leading an uprising, and that leading to all the adult trolls leaving Alternia. And so the idea with that is that with all the trolls spread out through the stars, there's not enough concentration of dissent in any one place to ever threaten her again.
Yeah.
And also, all the heiresses of her same color blood as her, such as Pfeffery, are not only expected to challenge her reign, but like Glub Glub demands it of them.
Essentially kind of dooming them. because they can't defeat her, and the implication there is that Doc Scratch is like kind of puppeting Glub Glub a little bit, like kind of or set her. She's a lady monster. Like set her in, made her what she is, made her like the monster that she is.
So yeah, when the session started and Alternia was destroyed by comets, she was the Condescend's her condescendent. What do we call her? The Condess?
The Condess, yeah.
Condess, okay. The Condess was further away than she had ever been before, just because she was like going. Her ship was so fast and she was so powerful. But by the time that she got word that the end times were upon Alternia, it was too late, and Glub Glub's vast glub had killed everyone. It had the sound rippling through the cosmos had killed every troll except for her and her heiress.
Yeah, and left her on this formerly super fast ship, but it killed the psionic that was powering it. And so now she was taking forever to get back home.
Yeah, 600 sweeps.
Right. And it's at this point that we realize that time is weird because basically she's actually now just about to arrive at Doc Scratch's place, like in minutes. And
we also see basically one of the ancestor trolls ended up arriving late after Alternia had already been destroyed and ended up in the foster care of Doc Scratch. And that, of course, is this Aradia-like troll.
Yes,
she's actually younger. Huh?
Go ahead.
So she's actually, like, chronologically, she arrived as a grub after the main trolls.
Yes, long after. Hundreds of years after.
Yeah. So she and the Condess are the last trolls in the universe.
Yes. And the thing is, it's at this point that I like lose track of the continuity of time. There's a little bit of like wobbliness happening here because I guess Doc Scratch is being weird about where we are. We, the audience, are with him on the timeline. I think he's dragging us around a little bit because we see her. I guess we get interrupted by her being this like teenager, and she's trying to escape, and the ship is arriving. But yet at the same time, she has already supposedly, been alive, been fully raised as this, what she's supposed to be, which I guess we should talk about.
Yeah.
Which is the handmaid to Lord English. She's supposed to be this, like...
weapon of terror and suffering.
Yeah. And so she's, actually already a myth, because she's been bouncing around through time, through history, causing death and suffering. And she's got conditional immortality, where all she wants to do is die, but she is not allowed to until she completes her service. And what she is supposed to do in service is recruit the Condess to work for Lord English. But instead, Hussey has some things to say about this.
So yeah, as we're getting all this exposition, like on the top of the website, like on the header, which has throughout this whole time like just been a still, or like mostly been a still image of inside Doc's house, we start seeing Hussey kind of like sneaking through it.
Yes.
Like going past the bowl of candy, and sneaking up behind the clock and attacking Doc Scratch to let the girl escape.
Yeah, it's really good because he busts in through the same fenestrated wall that like the handmaid was trying to beat with a chair, grabs the discipline broom of Doc Scratch's off of her bed, and then as he is like lecturing her, Hussey like comes up behind him, like whoops his clock, and then like whoops him, and then that action moves into the main panel, and we're like in the home stretch. We're in the home stretch. We're so close.
And this is where Hussey says to Doc, "You've locked up your last Asian schoolgirl, you sick fuck," which,
yeah,
you're the one who made her an Asian schoolgirl, Hussey, and that's the entire thing. Like, so let's get into it. The entire thing is like this cosmic proportions like tale of he literally says grooming and like child abuse and like abuse of an entire like evolutionary tree of people for a singular purpose. and Hussey coming in saying, hey, this is fucked up. Like, why? Like, I'm going to stop this, when he's the one who decided any of it existed. It's like, it's I don't know. I get what he's going for, but I don't know.
Yeah, I totally get what he's going for, and he, like, I definitely do not think that he literally identifies with the self-insert character in any way. I think the self-insert is very much a caricature.
Right.
Nevertheless, like, it is what it is. It's got his name. And, like, you did invent this, all of this, and I think, you know, on the one hand, it's, like, it's a really good way to, like, invent a villain that you really hate. But it's also, like, I don't know, I thought this was really funny when I thought it was really funny when I was, like, 17 in 2011.
That's a valid reading, especially, like, before all media became what it is, and before, like, the idea that no matter how ridiculous your satire is, there's someone who will believe and think it's good. It sometimes feels like it is necessary to, like, have an author insert character say, hey, this is bad.
Huh. Yeah.
Fuck this, actually.
Yeah, this isn't cool. This isn't, like, dark. But that is a really good point. Like, Doc Scratch doesn't get to be, like, cool, dark, badass, whatever. Like, he gets his ass whooped with a broom and he's a puppet on the floor. Like,
yeah, it's funny when Hussey's around, it's a reverse Calvin and Hobbes thing, so he's just a puppet. Yeah.
Oh god, which is kind of disturbing. Because then what's everyone else?
Right.
But, so, he does it, and he just whoops him, and he's on the floor, and then he goes, recall that the reason we're here in the first place is in the metafiction, Homestuck Disc 2 was broken, because the kids had scratched the disc, or because Terezi had scratched it by trying to put it on a record player, one or the other.
Right.
Or both, because time and causality. Anyway. So the disc is too scratched, so you bring it to the scratch doctor, and he's supposedly fixing it, but he's talking your fucking ear off and doing child abuse at you, instead. And so Hussey reaches into his, like, lifeless stuffing body and pulls out the disc and is like, he fucking already fixed it. He's just holding you hostage as an audience. And then there's a Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff. That has nothing to do with anything.
Has nothing to do with anything, and there's also, like, hilarious Hussey calling himself homo.
Oh, yeah, that's, like, yeah.
Yeah. Funny. Hilarious.
Oh, funny. Yeah, there's, like, the R slur is in this reading, like, multiple times. Like, it's just... Yeah. But the joke of the Sweet Bro and Hell Jeff kind of holds up, where, like, the meta joke is it's just, like, the one character trying to show the other character the proper way to, like, hold praying hands in church, but it's just the same 4 panels recycled over and over and over and over, and first it's, like, meant to be a joke as if this montage is going to resolve, but it just, like, fractally splits and divides and becomes ever smaller until it just becomes, and the JPEG artifacts are so severe that it's just this, like, rainbow, this, like, waving rainbow of cartoon hands trying to pray, dissolving into pixel distortion.
So was that actually linked in this? Because I didn't see that.
Oh, yeah. So if you click where it goes, you know, OU and then, like, a bunch of slurs, you're snopping wrong. And then if you click on the snapping hand, it takes you to a Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, if you don't click on that and you do click on the next arrow, it takes you to a page where you unsnop.
Right.
You unsnop, and then you attempt a rare and highly dangerous 5x showdown combo.
Yeah, this is a whole bunch of trolls on the roof of the lab, with, like, in the background are their ancestors, and they're all gonna fight each other. And then it's a fake out, and Karkat just shushes and paps them till they all calm down.
Yeah, he shushes and paps some of them, and then it's like, I don't know, this moment is still super touching for me, because the main thing is, like, you think that you've been set up for this, like, big confrontation of, like, taking out this ancestral rage on, like, Gamzee, who's gone so dark and seems, like, so completely, like, lost from the, like, sweet kid that he totally was. But like recall that like these two characters used to be like best friends, and Karkat just like holds him and like, and it's played for laughs and it's very silly of like shoo 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 pat 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 pat, like patting him on the face.
Yeah.
As Gamgee just goes honk, like.
Like, yeah, it is a very humorous sequence, and then it ends with them hugging, and it's like, wow, cute. But then it zooms out, and it's Hussey, like, writing a happy ending in this big blood-stained book with Miss Paint beside him, and then closes that book, and it's not the real story. It's a double fake-out.
No, it is the real story. That really happened. I promise that I'm not fucking with you. That really happened.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought that the implication was that it was another alternate timeline. Like, oh, we can just pretend for 10 pages that they calmed down.
Oh,
no, they actually did.
yeah, that really happened.
Okay, that's good then.
Yeah, it's a testament to like the goodness deep down in all of us. Like. So, and I actually forgot about that particular bit about Troll Society because I've been kind of squirming with it, and it makes me wonder whether Hussey knew of this in advance, because he notoriously makes up his continuity later. But, like, kind of squirming at the notion of, like, Troll Society is this, like, inherently violent thing. And, you know, he actually kind of comes in and addresses it because you've seen individual characters definitely expressing those identity issues of, like, am I meant to be this? I'm not sure I want to be this.
And I don't know if, like, it's just my reading, but I always, like, from the moment we learned about Troll Society, figured that there was something going on. Like, mostly just because, like, it was pretty obvious that they were all being groomed from childhood to play Spurb.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely always seemed like an outside force that was, like, telling them, like, what they were expected to be. And I don't know, like the fact that there are, like, actual physical biological differences, like, in the, like, lifespans and stuff. I don't know, actually, if that stuff happened in the original universe. But even if it did, the implication seems to be that, like, a peaceful Alternia is possible because it happened before, and the reason it doesn't exist now is because a deal with the devil was struck to save the universe.
Yes, right. Because and it's important to say that the reason those original trolls made that deal to try again is because it wasn't just to save their own lives. They were the last trolls alive, right? Anytime you play Spurb, you are saving your universe, you're saving your entire species. So that was the only way to perpetuate their entire civilization, was to try again. So it wasn't just self-serving, but it was totally a deal with the devil.
Right.
I think, you know, in my rereads of it, I often, like, I get it in my head that it's meant to just to go back to the Condesce and kind of be ascribed internally to this culture rather than this, like, bigger, more sinister, more systemic thing. Like, it's not just woven into their, like, society or whatever. It's literally woven into, like everything was machinated about their entire universe from its birth to make them like this.
Right.
So I feel like that's good to talk about. I think the other thing, to your point about the cast differences, like, still gross. I think that is meant to be, they don't address here whether it was in fact a feature previously. They don't say one or the other, which makes me suspect that it was. But what they kind of allude to is and it's something that is kind of downplayed in the Trolls arc that we witness on screen. But like, the warmer color-blooded trolls, like, they don't live as long, but they all have, like, special powers.
Yeah, like, there's no cast of trolls without powers, like, without the ability. And, like, that's part of, like, why, Doc talks about how the society, like, has to be put at odds with each other, so that they don't unify and overthrow the Condesce, which kind of has, I don't know, real world parallels.
God, it's so funny. Something I've been thinking about a lot is, like, all of this media that came out during this period where I feel like, in a nutshell, war wasn't real to most Americans who were, you know, alive and creating pop culture media. You know, Gen Xers, like Hussey, who were making this media, like, they lived through wars, but not wars that really touched American soil very much, particularly if you're a white person, because, like, the war on drugs was a very real thing and things like that. But if you weren't involved in things like that, like, war wasn't real. I mean, like, war wasn't real to me in any kind of, like, visceral sense, you know? I didn't...
Yeah.
You don't feel like you're unsafe. You're not... The sense of division in the country is... and, I mean, like, and you see it in other countries, too. Like, it's happening kind of everywhere. And there's this sense of division, but it's, like, ideological. It's sad. It's not viscerally frightening, like, how am I going to protect myself right now?
Yeah.
Like, my physical meat body is under threat. My, like, entire way of life is under threat. It's gonna stay under threat. And a lot of that materially, I think, for us right now is more because of the pandemic. You know, if you're not a protester on the ground, or a Black person being over-policed, or an Indigenous person being over-policed, that kind of thing, I feel like it really comes from that. But with that happening, and then the pandemic happening at the same time, not to get way political on Maine, but...
I mean, let's go.
Like, I think, to bring it back to Homestuck, it's like, there was all of this art made with messages like that, right? Like, you have to keep them divided so that they don't rise up. But the way that it's, like, handled is so, like, a fairy tale moral, you know? And so it's kind of wild.
Yeah.
In the political context at the time, that was kind of a fairy tale moral. You know, Obama had been president for almost 4 years at that point when this was going up, and everybody was just all high on that. Not everybody, but lots of people were real high on that. I was real high on that at the time. It was like, great, like, we're gonna get gay marriage, whatever. And, like, no, like it's so different to go back and read or watch media about war or about violence now, because it's like, oh, it's like that. And the different levels of, like, respect or, like, naivete with which it's handled, the levels of, like, sort of authorial remove that it gets handled with, like, the level of seriousness, how it's, what purpose it serves in the story. Like, I feel like a lot of times it's not really about this, it's just being used for drama. Did I make a point?
I think so. I think, well, yes, you did. You made good points. Like, I think it definitely... The thing that I've been kind of thinking is, like, as white North Americans living in the late 20th, early 21st century until now, we are probably some of the people with the most, like, shielding from mortal terror ever to exist. Like, everywhere else in the world ever, and for many people here, like, this feeling isn't new.
Yeah.
And I think that this comic and a lot of other media at the time was written by and for people for whom that wasn't a real feeling. And so we kind of just have exited that period of history now, and it's hard to go back to it with the same kind of lens.
Yeah. It's bizarre. I'm sure you didn't read them because we were getting ready to start this podcast. I was, like, waiting for you to, like, eat your lunch, which I shouldn't have been. Should have been getting ready, but I was, like, I went on Twitter and I was, like, just thinking about that exact topic, actually, which is just, like, this is everybody's life. Like, yeah, I don't know, even a lot of Europeans have seen, like, white Europeans have seen way more violence. You know, that's a visceral memory for them, and I am sure that that's part of the reason that their governments behave the way that they do, and their popular movements look the way that they do, because it is just such a fantasy world when you can go, you know, and we sent folks overseas, but, like, then they came home and they were othered, right? You know, like, the last time I feel like there was generational trauma inside of the United States broadly, or I guess, like, inside of maybe North America, because I'm sorry, I'm not trying to ostracize you as a Canadian, was like the Great Depression.
Right.
I think that definitely was a national trauma, and I think to a degree, like World War II was a national trauma as well, but less so. Do you know what I mean? I think it was much more of a fairy tale here, as much as there were shortages and there was rationing and the economy changed and all of that. It's just not the same as my body's not safe. My personal body is not safe.
Right. And I think even, like, the Cold War and, like, the prospect of nuclear annihilation being a legitimate possibility at all times, even that, like, real as it was so abstracted that it's not the same thing as like the prospect of dying from a virus or being shot in the street. But that's the only reference that we have. Like, that's the only reference our parents have. And so I think, I don't know, maybe I'm talking out of my ass, but I feel like because that was so abstracted, that's their response. Like, that's their referent for, like, mortal danger. That's maybe why older people are more able to just kind of pretend that nothing's happening.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
Because for them, when this happened before, it was, in a way, like, not real, like, because there was nothing they could do about it, whereas now there is stuff we can do about it.
Yeah, that's so true. And, like, I think about that sometimes, and I before shit started getting really real in American cities, like, with the protests, I think I was relating a lot to the Cold War and how it might have been during the Cold War, because as much as you can do things to kind of keep yourself safe, and there was activism you could do there, I mean, like, for a while we were, like, kind of freaked out about, like, Iran, we were kind of freaked out about, like, North Korea, and the only way that I could kind of, like, wrap my head around it was, like, this is, you know, we went through the Cold War, not recently, you know, people survived that, and it definitely did fuck people up in the head. I do think it totally made people really weird and paranoid about things, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same. I'm so happy we had this conversation.
Yeah, me too.
So Homestuck, we didn't finish it.
I hope our listeners appreciate our discussion of existential dread from a privileged position.
Sorry.
But no, I think I'll keep that in. Like, that was good. And it is about, like, it is what the thing is about. It is, like, the politics of this is that a better world is possible if we unite and reject the society that hones us into killing machines. Yeah.
Yes, and I feel like that's kind of what it boils down to. I feel like that the emotional reaction that we're coming from is basically like, when I read this the first time, it was very much like, well, of course, this is the narrative. Of course, people are inherently good, whatever, and like it hits different.
Yeah. Before we finish up, there is one little thing we skipped, which is just Gamzee trolling Dave.
Yes!
Like a vignette of... I can't tell. I don't think this is a dream. I think this is really just a flashback to, like, the first time, or one of the first times Gamzee trolled Dave, from Dave's perspective. But from Gamzee's perspective, it's during his rampage, and he's just furious with Dave sharing the Insane Clown Posse video and exposing his entire religion as a lie or something. But basically I can't follow it because they're both extremely obtuse, but basically Gamzee's like, well, I created your universe and I'm imbuing it with evil clown energy. And then there's a picture of John in his bed, and then, like, an evil clown imp appears on his bed. So I guess Gamzee put the evil clown imps in the game, and Gamzee has little cow eyes.
Yeah, it's bad.
And then they have an off-screen rap battle.
Yes.
Which the narration says is one of the best rap battles of all Paradox space, but it's off-screen. Shame.
Mm-hmm. Not a shame. I don't read the raps. I never read the raps. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, there was one between Gamzee and Tavros in here too, and I just skipped that all because it wasn't actually about anything.
Yeah, it was basically about, a bunch of table setting, and then Gamzee saying that maybe one day when we all are physically together playing this Spurb game, or what is it called, like Hive Bent or whatever it's called, for the trolls, maybe we can make out. And Tavros is like, what? And then it's literally, which I think is just put on the table to then flavor the fact that then we see Gamzee in the middle of his rampage. He didn't kill Tavros, I don't think. Did he kill Tavros? I can't remember.
Vriska killed Tavros.
Vriska killed Tavros, but he's there with Tavros' corpse and, like, brown blood on his mouth.
Yeah.
Bad.
Oh, I didn't even... Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. A little bit of what's happening here, like, Hussey loves to, like, hit you in the stomach like that. And there's a little bit of, like, him taking this, like, last little opportunity to just, like, cram in as many little sucker punches like that as he possibly can. It's, like, a little bit cheap, but enough of them do pay off that I'm like, all right, fine. We gotta get to the end.
Yes. Let's talk about this ending.
Yeah. So literally all that happens is, so there's a page that's the start of the page of the year 4 recap, and then Hussey just writing, no, fuck this, on the piece of paper. We cut to, and I can't remember if these are silent panels, but the dialogue's not really important.
It's silent.
Yeah. Okay. So it's Jade, standing on top of a very tall tower in her land, with the Genesis frog tadpole in the 8-ball, and Jack getting ready to do something, I guess hatch it. And then something starts falling from the sky, and it's shaving cream.
Yeah, it's like an entire pallet of shaving cream with an coming down on a parachute
with some C4 stuck to the sides.
Yeah, this is a callback to something. Like, there was shaving cream at some point. I don't remember what the context was, though.
I don't either. This is like a long ago bit with, I think, John and Club's Deuce and the Wayward Vagabond found some of John's dad's shaving cream, and they're fucking around with it.
Yes.
So, and actually, honestly, not that long ago. It just takes us, life is happening to us right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
but Club's Deuce is here.
He's here with a pallet of shaving cream and a bunch of explosives, and he brings it down on the tower and detonates it and sends the Genesis frog flying off the side of the tower into a fucking active volcano.
Which is the forge, right?
Which is the forge. And we see Jade dead on the ground, labeled dead.
Yeah. Which is how you know.
And she is not God tier yet, by the way.
Yeah.
In this iteration. And Jack is right there, and he is he starts flying into a rage, and then the next link is S Cascade.
Yes. So yeah, Jack told CD to do this because he can't do it himself, but also because he can't do it himself, he's furious when it happens because he is still just Jade's good dog.
Yeah. And that's it. We made it.
I'm so excited. I have no idea what's in store.
Yeah, gosh, I have to go back and rewatch it. It's going to take some picking apart. I believe I have dedicated the entire next episode to just unpacking it.
Good.
Because it's a lot. Because honestly, you watch it as a viewer, you are not going to understand what's happening. It's very opaque. It's very cool to watch, and then you figure out what happened after.
Yeah, I definitely imagine I'm going to watch it once to experience, and then a second time for notes.
Yes. And hopefully it'll be, who knows when it'll be. We hope it's sooner than later. But if you're still riding with us after literally all of these years, or whenever you hopped on, if you're one of those people, we always get new people every year at 413. So if you just hopped on this year, hello.
Hi, thanks for joining us. Sorry, and you're welcome.
Yeah, this is literally just a passion project, and Earth is what it is, and to be on it is what it is, and so these episodes happen when they happen, but somehow in 5 years, almost 5 years, they haven't stopped happening, so... Yeah. Not stopping now.
We're finally at the part where Homestuck begins.
God! Stop it! Because here's the thing: is I dropped off maybe a year after Cascade happened, so because there was a really long hiatus, and then a bunch of the shit after that was a game, and I didn't enjoy the game very much, and I didn't.
That's actually something worth figuring out, because I think all the Flash everywhere is not gonna work after this year, and I imagine that the people archiving it, someone will do Homestuck and make sure that it's still playable. But we'll have to figure out probably a way of getting it to work.
Yeah, so it is going to be unsupported, which I'm hoping means that somebody quite soon is going to be all right, well, here's the plugin that supports it because your vanilla Chrome browser won't do it, and that'll be the end of it. Because, I don't know, for example, I watched the 5X Showdown combo video that they have hosted on the website right now, and you can go and find better quality versions on YouTube, but it's not a good quality render of the Flash. Flash animation I love Flash animation. It's so crisp because of the vectors.
Yeah.
It's got a little bit of a unique style, and and it's just like pixelated, and the audio quality's not as good. Like the audio's really clean in the Flash originals.
Yeah.
So web, archivists, historians, and preservationists, like, I love you. I try to give you money when I can. Thank you. Please do Homestuck.
I'm sure someone is.
Yeah, because it's not going to be a priority for Viz Media, because I doubt it's making them that much money anymore.
I mean, they've got so much, like, there's like Homestuck 2 and like the games and like all this stuff that we're not going to think about, at least until we finish the first one. I don't know. I'm not. Homestuck 2 might be good. I probably will not dedicate 10 years to making a podcast about it. No.
Probably not. But I mean, this is the thing. When it's like novel content, you might just read it.
Yeah, I might like it. I know that Jade's daughter is named Yiffany, which I don't like.
No! No!
Yeah. So who knows what the quality is?
No! Alex, no!
I don't know what to tell you.
I'm sorry. I mean, actually breathless.
The thing is, it's written by like extremely online trans furries, as far as I can tell.
Oh, what?
So, like,
oh, wait, it's a fan project?
It's an officially licensed, like, it's, the writing team is not Hussey. Like, there are people who are writing it who Hussey has signed off on.
Who are extremely online furries.
Yes.
Who are great.
Yeah, but also I don't really want to read about Yiffany Harley.
Stop. Oh my god, that is like, it's like doing something to my rib cage when you say those words. It like is hard to breathe for a second. I'm really trying not to like overreact on the pod, but like I'm hollering.
It's also like explicitly like, it's not non-canon, but it's like, hey, canon doesn't mean anything here.
Nice.
So, take it as you will.
Honestly, as much as like I fucking hate that, like it is in the spirit of Homestuck.
It is.
I think. Which is a conversation for another day, but someday I think we should totally talk about how a lot of, like, what we think about as, like, the culture of Homestuck is really just, it was extremely online, and it's very of its time. And, when Homestuck things come out today that are extremely online, and you don't love to see it, like, it's... What I think that it might say a little bit more about how, our relationship to online now and being online in 2020 versus in 2010.
Yeah, that's exactly it. The Homestuck is a constant. We just get older.
God, that should be like the new... That's the tagline of our fucking show.
Is that the episode title?
Yes.
Good. Oh, man. Do we have anything else to say?
So we have dedicated all of... Gosh, we're on episode 44. That's wild. We've made 44 episodes of a podcast. High five.
Hell yeah.
Did not expect to, like, get this far when we started, so maybe I did.
You know what? That's like almost one a month, if you think about it. No, wait. That's wrong. That math is bad. Hold on.
No, it's right. We started in, I don't know, sometime in late 2015. Yeah, we started in November 2015. So 12, 24, 36, and then like November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. So that's like another 12, 24, 36, and then 36 and 9 is 45. So we're at a rate of one a month, baby!
Oh my god.
That's
what the hell?
Fucking great. Good job.
Editor's note, you might have noticed that Lydia skipped an entire year there, and it's actually 57, but still good.
Oh my god. Well, there we go. It's your favorite monthly podcast. I'm sticking. That's so funny.
Thank you.
Holy shit. Thank you so much.
For listening. It like amazes me that people actually listen to this, but they totally do. So, thanks. You do help motivate us to spend this time together. We'd probably do this anyway, even if nobody was listening, but it's nice to know that you're along on this ride.
I'd also like to thank Noisepace.xyz and our friend and podcast hoster, Matt, for having us on the network, because that makes everything a lot easier.
Yes, thank you so much, Matt. We are no longer languishing out in the void of self-hosting. Like, Matt does, like, so much. Like, every day there's, like, something popping up of, like, Matt doing something to, like, help make this network work. Ops is like a real thing, and it's just like, thank you. I also wanted to add, like, thank you to the other Noise Space hosts, because it wouldn't be a network without y'all. And all of y'all make more episodes than we do. So thank you for making really cool content, like, and be on the network.
Yeah. Podcasting is really good, and I love it. It's just great. It's a great way to, like, be creative and be in a community. And if you have a podcast idea, you should just try it out and see how it goes, because you might end up where we are.
Yeah, right. Like, we don't have any sponsors. Like, we're 44 episodes in. Neither of us have, I think, bought microphones. I'm literally still talking into, like, my computer mic. Like, nothing is, you don't need to make it. It's still fun to just do.
Yeah.
Make it as in, like, capital M, make it. Nobody cares. Like, I don't know, maybe you care, but, like you don't have to.
Oh, no.
It's still fun,
not.
and you can still be part of a community, and it's great.
Yeah. Oh, no. To be clear, I do not care about making it. I do not want to make $1 off of podcasts.
No, please, no. Never, no ads, ever. No monetizing any of this. Please, God.
Under no circumstances should you donate to our Patreon.
Does Noise Space have a Patreon?
It does. So we don't have a Patreon. We're just doing this for fun. But if you do want to help out the network and help us out through the transitive property,
and we don't mean this
patreon.com/noisespace.
Wait, sorry. I don't know if you want to redo that, but, like, some Max Fun people will talk about, like, helping us out, and it literally means, like, pay my bills because this is my job. We literally just mean, like, you're paying for the hosting.
Yeah.
We
if
don't
you go
get
to patreon.com/noisespace and give $1 or $5 a month, help Matt cover server costs so that he can keep this thing going.
Yeah.
And as long as that's happening, we will be here.
Hell yeah. So I guess that's it. I guess we'll see you next time.
All right, let's just I guess close this out. I don't even want to, like, plug socials anymore.
No. No. My name's Lydia. Don't. You don't need to find me.
My name's Alex. If you know where to find me, you know where to find me. You can find the show on Twitter at Hamsteak Podcast or on Tumblr at Hamsteak Podcast. And thanks.
Bye.
Until next time, as we always say, we don't have an outro.
do 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 do